Hello, I'm NP. Despite the fact that I've been a gamer since the mid-80s, I still haven't built a purpose-built gaming machine. It's sort of strange because I have built a lot of computers during the years. You know, audio workstations, video editing machines, things like that. Little workhorses. And later on, when these machines served their time, they became my gaming machines. So today I will break this cycle. And don't think anything, arbitrary. The CPU will be a quite average Ryzen5 3600. I will pair it with a flat black Cooler Master Hyper 212, a simple, legendary CPU cooler. I like simple things and black is metal. On the same line I will add a pair of 8GB 3.2 GHz Kingston HyperX Fury RAM sticks. I would like to give the whole system nice power, so I added a Corsair TX550M to the bag. I have great experience using these power supplies. The same is true for Western Digital solid-state drives, so my system drive will be a Western Digital Black M.2 NVMe, and the data drive will be a Blue Series 1TB. I also like Icebox SSD coolers, so I will add that to the mix as well. There are a couple of reasons behind choosing this standard Ryzen5 3600 CPU. One reason was price, because it was on sale. The other reason was power consumption. On high load, this CPU will consume 65 watts of power. The Ryzen 5 3600X will consume 95 watts of power. There's some 45% difference between them. It's quite substantial, I think. And the standard Ryzen 5 CPU will provide more than enough power for games. And I don't aim too high. What I want is 60 FPS 1080p. So during the years I had a great experience using different iterations of Cooler Master H212s. They are ridiculously effective, not too loud, and luckily I could find a Darth Vader edition. I like simple things and I don't like RGB at all. So this one doesn't reflect light, it kills it. So I haven't mentioned the most important element in this build, the motherboard. I'm still not a fanboy, but I had so great experience using MSI boards, and they are Mortar and Tomahawk line. I think my most favorite boards ever. So picking an MSI Mortar B550 board was a no-brainer for me. I think it provides the best balance between features, quality and reliability. Also price. And great VRM chips. Well, stable power is the base of a stable computer, I think. Also, this board has two M.2 drive docks. So whenever in the future, if I wish to upgrade it with ridiculously fast SSD drives, it's possible. This board was designed for Ryzen 5 3rd Gen, so later on I can slap in a 5000 series AMD CPU anytime. In my experience, MSI boards are quite future-proof. I have an old MSI-based machine that's more than 15 years old, still running fine. Of course, only if it's paired with a nice power supply. The actual performance, watts, is just one thing. The great build quality is what really matters. Again, I had a great experience using Corsair power supplies. I started to choose my power supplies according to Linus Tech Tips PSU tier list many years ago. Although it's not updated anymore, so it's sort of out of date. Still, you can find many items from this list on the market, even today. So that's how I found this Corsair TX550M half-modular power supply. I have used a couple of them during the years and they are great. And the same is true for Kingston. I think I've been using their RAM sticks for over 15 years. So I guess I have a sort of brand loyal mindset most of the time. Well, it was the opposite considering Western Digital gear. Honestly, my first couple of Western Digital drives were just horrible. 3 failed out of 5. Then luckily, around 10-15 years ago, I received a Western Digital Black Series HDD, and later on a Raptor, and man, these were bloody awesome. Solid-state drives are different beasts, but as far as I know, the chips on Western Digital gear are provided and manufactured by SanDisk. Well, me and SanDisk, we have a good history. And it's the same with IC-box accessories. You know, passive cooling, HDD dock stations, cables, things like that. Nice. The case, however, was completely new to me. A friend of mine recommended Fractal design. He knows that I'm an air cooling guy when it comes to PCs. You know, air has no conductivity, but water has. So anyway, this Fractal design Focus J Mini is a wind tunnel, virtually. Except for the solid side panels, it's vented all the way through. It's shipped with a nice set of screws and accessories, zip ties and all sort of stuff for cable management. These grill mesh panels have dust filters, and it provides an ample of options considering cable management or device mounting. Sorry. So you can even mount your old CD or DVD drives if you want to. And also it comes stock with 2 big spinners, so the complete front panel is a big air intake. I was pleasantly surprised when I opened the box. This case was around 40 euros, and for the price I didn't suspect much. But this case is packed with features and the build quality is quite nice, I think. And all the venting, you know, you can air cool the hell out of this system if you want to, even if you use just the 2 factory spinners. It's possible to set up a lot of airflow configurations, just like front in, rear out, or front in, top out. And the spinners, they are not RGB but white LED. And it's sort of still acceptable for me too. So it looks quite Death Star to me, that's great, and it's surprisingly small. The fact that you have to remove the HDD rack to be able to mount the motherboard is absolutely acceptable. In the practice it was one of my nicest builds. So after removing this small HDD rack it was ready to assemble. So I shut up and build. So, between the first part of this video and this part, a couple of things happened literally, and it's called years. So this Ryzen 5 PC build happened during the summer of 2021. So what about now? 2023. Well, apart from some dust build, this machine still works fine. And it's still my gaming PC. About my gaming needs, nothing changed. 1080p, 60 FPS. That's all about it. This Ryzen 5 3600 still runs games fine. As for a GPU, it sports a Sapphire Radeon RX570. So far, except for Cyberpunk 2077 and No Man's Sky, it can run everything around 60 FPS and 1080p. So this is the machine where I record gaming videos. So most games so far run fine around 60 FPS while recording a video simultaneously on the same machine without a capture card. Most of the time I just used the RX570's own utility. So most of the time it spits out 60 FPS in-game while recording its video at 60 FPS. Quite decent, I think. 2021 was quite a hot summer, so in no time I added a couple of more spinners to this build, so it can move a tremendous amount of air through the system, from the front intake to the top and rear exhaust vents, and it doesn't run hot. Anyway, less watts, less power, less heat. So the GPU has a 60 FPS limiter all the time on. The Ryzen 5 3600 consumes less than a half of the power of my previous gaming CPU, and the spinners are PWM, so they are active. They rev up only when they need to. So it's not a spectacular high-performance gaming PC, it's just a decent everyday soldier. It still runs Windows 10, it still sports a pre-COVID RX570 that luckily I could get right before the GPU price crisis of the last couple of years. And honestly, I still don't feel the need to upgrade it, especially because it's very stable. So it's a simple black functional workhorse and one of my favorite builds. That's all about it. See you somewhere in time.